The air inside the Devonshire auction hall shimmered with tension. It was the kind of afternoon when even the moor seemed to hold its breath. Clouds low, light silver and uneasy. All eyes were fixed on the parade ring, a patch of churned earth where legends were made or broken. And today, at the center of that storm, stood Stormfire, the infamous black stallion no one could tame. His muscles twitched beneath his gleaming coat, hooves pawing at the ground with impatience, nostrils flaring with a wildness no fence could hold. Some whispered he was born from thunder itself. Sir Conrad Beckford's voice cut through the murmurs like a whip, ringing out from the grandstand, smooth but laced with arrogance. Ladies and gentlemen, today is no ordinary day. £1,000,000. To anyone in Devon who can make Stormfire stand still for 5 minutes, under these lights, before these cameras, but fail, and you'll owe 20,000 for wasting our time. He smiled, all polished teeth, as 3 hospital stretchers wheeled away the latest would-be horse whisperers, faces pale with shock and defeat. The crowd shifted, restless, expectant, many shaking their heads. Margaret Whitmore, standing near the rail in a faded wool coat, pressed her lips together. She watched her daughter, Lily, nervously. Margaret's hands trembled, but she refused to let anyone see. Lily Whitmore, 13, slim, freckled, with wind-tangled hair, lingered at the edge of the crowd, clutching a battered harmonica in her palm. Her heart thumped loud as a drum. She stared at Stormfire, something passing between their eyes. A flicker of recognition, maybe, or just the wild in both of them. She remembered her mother's words, whispered late at night in the soft hay. "It's not about power, Lily. Horses listen when you listen first. Harmony, not conquest." Arthur Beckford, standing behind his father with arms crossed and phone recording, smirked. What now? Is Devon all out of heroes? I suppose even legends need to retire sometimes. His gaze flicked to Lily with the sort of sneer reserved for troublemakers and dreamers. Stormfire lashed his tail, head tossing, teeth bared at a handler who ventured too close. A hush swept through the grandstand. The auctioneer wiped his brow. Sir Conrad turned, surveying the assembly, then shrugged theatrically. "Well, it seems no one is left to accept the challenge." Lily stepped forward, every step heavy as a tolling bell. Her boots, too big, left from her mother, sank a little in the mud. Some of the grooms whispered, "She's Amelia's girl, poor thing. Lost her mom last spring." But Lily's voice, when it came, was clear. "I'd like to try." A ripple of laughter, then silence. Sir Conrad's eyes widened, then narrowed, searching her face for a joke, a trick. "You? This is no children's game, my dear." She looked at her mother, searching for a sign, then gripped the harmonica tighter. "I accept the terms. I won't touch him. Just give me a chance." Margaret tried to step forward, but Sir Conrad held up a hand, delighted by the spectacle. "By all means, Devon loves a show. Let the cameras roll." Lily walked to the center, her footsteps echoing off the fences, swallowed by the hush. The handler pulled back, tossing her a nervous glance. The only thing she carried was her harmonica, her mother's dulled silver, edges smoothed by years of worry. She blew a breath, heart stuttering, then brought it to her lips. The first note wavered, thin as a thread. She closed her eyes, searching her memory for the old cavalry lullaby her mother had played on cold nights. Music that spoke to the part of a horse that remembered running wild. The melody grew, soft and low, weaving through the tension like a promise. Stormfire snorted, one ear flicking. His muscles quivered, but he didn't bolt. The music coiled around him, gentle, insistent, a story of wide fields and freedom, of night and rain. Lily played, breath steadying with every note, eyes never leaving the stallions. The crowd leaned in, mesmerized, the whole world balanced on a wire between fear and hope. The clock started. 5 minutes, an eternity. Sir Conrad folded his arms, smirk faltering as Stormfire's head dropped an inch, then another. Arthur watched, mouth open, fingers tightening on his phone. Margaret gripped the rail so hard her knuckles blanched. The air thickened. Stormfire's nostrils fluttered, tension ebbing. He blinked, shuddered, then, slowly, lowered his head until his muzzle nearly brushed the ground. The ringmaster stared, unable to move. 3 minutes gone. Lily's heart hammered, but she didn't falter. The melody changed, becoming softer, almost a whisper. Stormfire shifted his weight, then, gently, impossibly, took a step toward her. Lily held her breath. He moved closer, closer, until his breath warmed her wrist, until the world narrowed to nothing but the bond between a frightened girl and a horse too wild for chains. The last minute ticked by, each second dragging. Stormfire didn't bolt. Instead, he nudged Lily's shoulder as if urging her to keep playing. A single tear slipped down her cheek. She played on, finishing the song with trembling lips. The buzzer sounded. 5 minutes. The ring erupted in stunned applause. Then shouts, the cameras flashing. Sir Conrad's face went white. Arthur dropped his phone. Margaret ran forward, wrapping Lily in a fierce embrace. Lily looked up, eyes shining with a victory she barely understood. Stormfire stood by her side, black and unbowed, as if daring the world to challenge him again. For the first time in months, Margaret let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, they could save the farm and themselves. But deep in the crowd, Dr. Harriet Collins and Sir Edward exchanged uneasy glances. In winning the challenge, Lily had made enemies and awakened secrets that wouldn't stay buried for long. A cold wind swept across the moor outside the auction ring, carrying with it the sharp tang of rain and distant applause still echoing from Lily's impossible victory. Cameras clustered around her and Stormfire. The black stallion's coat slick with sweat, but his eyes impossibly calm, as if he'd just walked through a quiet meadow instead of the most crowded ring in Devon. Arthur Beckford shoved his phone into his pocket, face twisted with disbelief. Sir Conrad, though still smiling for the cameras, clenched his jaw so hard the muscles jumped in his cheeks. But all around, whispers ran wild. "Did you see that? A girl and a harmonica!" Before the ring could clear, BBC Southwest reporters pushed forward. "Miss! Miss! How did you do it?" Microphones bobbed under her chin. Stormfire tossed his head, snorting at the commotion. Margaret squeezed Lily's hand, whispering, "Let's go, darling, before they eat us alive." But the ringmaster blocked their path, eager to parade the spectacle for the benefit of sponsors and Sir Conrad's investors, who stared at Lily as if she'd just sprouted wings. Conrad Beckford raised his hand, and the crowd stilled. "Ladies and gentlemen, let's all congratulate young Miss Whitmore. A spectacular display. Rest assured, the Whitmore Stables mortgage payment will be handled as promised." He said it with a tight smile, but his eyes glittered with a new calculation, a predator's glint sizing up prey he'd underestimated. As the crowd parted, Dr. Harriet Collins slipped through, her field jacket dusted with straw and her hair still wild from rushing over. "Lily, are you all right? That was extraordinary." She put a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder, feeling the tremor that still ran through the girl's small frame. "I'm okay. I think Lily answered, voice shaking only a little. She clutched the harmonica, almost afraid it might disappear and take the magic with it. Margaret glanced at Dr. Collins, worry flickering behind her eyes. Can we go? I'd like to get Lily and Stormfire home. Of course, of course. Dr. Collins nodded. Let me check Stormfire, though. That was a lot for him. I'd hate to have him colic after all that. Arthur watched them leave, his phone up again, streaming video with a smirk. Enjoy your little win, Whitmores. It's the last. They walked Stormfire out to the horse trailer, Margaret's hands trembling with relief and disbelief. You did it, Lily. You really did it. I just played the song, Mama, like she showed me, Lily murmured, touching the harmonica to her lips, the memory of her mother's gentle lullaby still fresh in her ears. For a moment, the world felt light, almost safe. But back in the auction hall, Conrad Beckford wasn't ready to let the moment go. He called his son aside, his voice a low, angry whisper. That girl is a problem. Find out how she did it. Arthur scowled, nodding. The ride home was tense, rain slapping against the trailer roof as the last light faded from the moor. Dr. Collins followed in her battered Land Rover, headlights winking through the drizzle. The hedgerows seemed taller, the sky lower, the road back to Whitmore Stables winding and muddy. Lily sat in the back seat, head leaning against the window, Stormfire's image replaying over and over in her mind. His eyes had looked straight through her, as if seeing something she didn't even know was inside. When they pulled into the old gravel drive, the barn lights were already on. Sir Edward Kingsley was waiting by the fence, his heavy waxed coat buttoned against the wind. He tipped his cap as they approached. Well done, Miss Lily. My word, you've shaken up the moor tonight. Conrad Beckford will be chewing on that for months. He grinned, the lines around his eyes deep with mischief. Thank you, Sir Edward, Lily said, warmth creeping up her cheeks. Dr. Collins joined them, her hands moving quickly as she checked Stormfire's legs, back, and heartbeat. No injuries, just a little muscle tremor, she pronounced, stroking the stallion's neck. Stormfire, still oddly subdued, pressed his nose against Lily's arm, blowing a warm, grateful breath. I've never seen him like this, Dr. Collins admitted, voice low. It's almost like he trusts you. Margaret pulled Lily close, the exhaustion of months, years, seeming to roll off her shoulders for just a moment. Let's get you both inside and dry. But as they led Stormfire into his stall, Lily heard Arthur's voice in her mind, sneering, Enjoy it while it lasts. Something in his tone made her uneasy. Inside the small kitchen, Margaret made tea and sliced thick bread, spreading it with clotted cream and strawberry jam. The warmth and normalcy felt like a blessing after the circus of the auction ring. Sir Edward joined them, sipping his tea, and talked of the moor, of ponies and legends, and the way Devon never quite gave up its secrets. Dr. Collins lingered too, but she seemed distracted, glancing often at Lily, at the harmonica, and at the storm gathering beyond the windows. You know, Amelia believed music was the only true bridge between worlds, Dr. Collins said quietly. It's a gift, Lily. Don't let them turn it into a weapon. Lily nodded, but the burden felt heavier than ever. She thought about her mother, Amelia, who'd ridden the moors before dawn and whispered to horses until they followed her like shadows. She wondered if somewhere out there, Amelia was watching. Suddenly, the old landline rang, jangling through the silence. Margaret jumped. She picked up, listened, then her face drained of color. She hung up, hands shaking. That was the bank. They're calling in the loan again. They say, Beckford has filed a challenge, claiming you cheated. Lily's heart plummeted. But I didn't. I swear. I know, sweetheart. But this isn't about truth. Margaret's voice broke. It's about power. Outside, Stormfire pawed the stall door, eyes wild again. On the moor, the wind howled, and somewhere in the dark, the Beckfords were already plotting their next move. Morning broke over Whitmore Stables with a gentle drizzle, soft gray light slipping between the hills, painting everything in muted tones. The chaos of the previous day seemed almost a dream, except for the tired faces around the kitchen table and the new tension that clung to every corner of the old farmhouse. Margaret barely touched her tea, staring through the window at the distant silhouette of Stormfire grazing in the paddock, his black coat a stark line against the pale grass. Lily lingered by the back door, one hand absently tracing the grooves of her mother's harmonica, replaying yesterday's triumph and the dread that followed. Sir Edward had stayed the night in the guest room, his presence both a comfort and a reminder of the crisis they faced. He read the local news by the morning fire, glasses perched low, every now and then shaking his head at the coverage. Listen to this. Devon girl charms devil horse, stuns auction house, Whitmore Stables rescued. Not one mention of the bank's threat or Beckford's challenge. Margaret forced a smile. They only print what sells. Dr. Harriet Collins arrived early, rubber boots squelching across the gravel, a battered medical bag swinging at her side. Morning. Is everyone all right? She set her bag on the kitchen table and poured herself a cup of tea, eyes softening as she took in Lily's worried face. Don't fret, Lily. You did everything right. Stormfire's just fine, too. But Lily couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Even Stormfire seemed different this morning, restless, pacing the fence, ears flicking, as if listening for some threat only he could sense. She finished her toast in silence, then pulled on her coat and boots, determined to check on him herself. Dr. Collins followed, their boots leaving muddy prints on the cobbled path. Out in the paddock, dew clung to the grass. Stormfire raised his head at Lily's approach, whinnied softly, and trotted over to greet her. His wildness was still there, but beneath it, a new edge, a nervousness that made Lily's heart twist. She stroked his muzzle, whispering, "It's okay, boy. I'm here." Stormfire leaned into her touch, breath steaming in the chilly air. Dr. Collins watched the interaction with a thoughtful frown. Your mother was the only one who could calm him like that. She crouched to check Stormfire's legs and eyes, her hands gentle and practiced. You know, Amelia always said horses don't just listen to words. They read hearts. Lily looked down. Do you think Mom would be proud of me? Dr. Collins smiled, her eyes shining. I know she would. She believed you had the gift, too. Not just with Stormfire, but with all the horses. That's why she started teaching you so young. They walked back toward the barn, Stormfire following like a shadow. The morning was quiet, only the soft clatter of hooves and the distant call of a skylark breaking the silence. As they reached the barn, Dr. Collins paused. Lily, I never told you this, but your mother kept detailed notes about her training methods, about Stormfire, too. She believed that real partnership wasn't about breaking spirits, but about understanding them. Lily's eyes widened. Where are those notes? She kept a journal. I think Margaret might have it tucked away somewhere. Dr. Collins said softly. Inside the barn, the familiar smells of hay, leather, and rain-soaked wood brought Lily a measure of calm. She went about her chores, brushing the ponies, checking their water, and humming the lullaby from yesterday. Stormfire watched her every move, almost as if he understood the words in her head. As she finished sweeping the aisle, Margaret appeared at the doorway, her face still etched with worry. "Lily, can you help me with something in the house?" Lily followed her mother inside. In the parlor, Margaret opened a weathered chest beneath the window seat and pulled out a stack of old papers, notebooks, and letters tied with faded ribbon. She hesitated, fingers trembling as she picked up a slim, leather-bound journal. "This was your mother's. She wrote everything in here. Training, dreams, worries about the farm." Lily turned the pages, breath catching at the neat, looping handwriting. There were sketches of horses, notes on their personalities, lists of songs and melodies, even diagrams showing how to approach a frightened animal. But something else caught her eye. A folded piece of paper tucked deep within the journal, sealed with red wax. She looked up at Margaret, who nodded. "Open it, sweetheart. Your mother always wanted you to know the truth." Lily broke the seal with careful fingers and unfolded the paper. It was a letter, addressed to her, written in Amelia's familiar script. "If you're reading this, it means you've found the courage to face the moor's greatest challenge. Stormfire is more than just a horse. He's the key to saving Whitmore Stables. But there are those who would do anything to claim him for themselves. Trust Dr. Collins, trust Sir Edward, and always trust yourself. Remember, the Beckfords aren't just after the land. They want to bury the past, and the past holds secrets that can't stay hidden forever." Lily's hands shook. She turned to the next page in the journal and found notes about the day of her mother's accident. Details about a meeting with someone from the Beckford estate, warnings about a proposed development project, and a cryptic entry. "If anything happens to me, look in the hawthorn grove. The evidence is there." Lily looked up, meeting Margaret's eyes. Mom was trying to stop Beckford. She knew something. Margaret nodded, tears in her eyes. "She was brave, Lily, maybe too brave, but you're her daughter. And you're not alone." Lily hugged her mother, the weight of legacy settling on her shoulders. Outside, the rain eased, but the sense of gathering storm did not. In the distance, Stormfire pawed at the fence, eyes fixed on the moor, as if he too felt the shadows lengthening. In that moment, Lily vowed she would not let her mother's fight go unfinished. Whitmore Stables would stand, and she would uncover whatever secrets the moor had buried, no matter what it cost. The days after the auction felt strangely suspended, the world both too quiet and charged with the pulse of things left unsaid. The Whitmore house became a place of long silences, furtive glances, and secrets drifting just out of reach. Lily found herself haunted by her mother's letter and the cryptic instructions about the hawthorn grove. Even Stormfire seemed restless, pawing at the earth, as if he too could sense that answers and danger were drawing close. It was late afternoon, a pale sun barely warming the damp fields. Margaret had retreated to her bedroom, a stack of bank letters and unpaid bills growing like weeds on the desk beside her. Sir Edward had ridden out to meet with a council member, hoping to buy the family more time, and Dr. Collins was checking on a sick foal at a neighbor's farm. The kitchen felt empty and hollow. Only Lily remained, turning her mother's leather-bound journal over in her hands, studying every word and sketch as if they could somehow bring Amelia back.